بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Continuing in our practical guide to seeking Islamic knowledge, I want to talk about today, inshallah ta'ala, some of the pitfalls of seeking knowledge. One of the most common mistakes student knowledge will fall into and how to avoid them. And this is a reality that many people who start the talab, the seeking of knowledge, they finish either far from their goal, some of them, or some of them they reach their goal, and some of them they didn't even get close. And it has a lot to do with how they approach their way of learning. What's their intention? What's their effort like? But there are reasons as to why some people are successful and others are not. مع توفيق الله سبحانه وتعالى. So it's important for the student knowledge to be aware of these pitfalls. The ulama, they spend time writing about them. So I encourage then a student to be mindful of that there are these pitfalls, and you should learn them beforehand, so you don't become a victim of them. And what we'll do now, we'll just summarize some of those pitfalls mentioned by Sheikh Abdul al-Burjis, rahimahullah ta'ala, in his Awaqid al-Talab. Awaqid al-Talab is like obstacles to seeking knowledge. And also, Sheikh Salih al-Sheikh in Tariq ila Nabuq al-Ilmi, he also has a mention of this. And so they say, the first of them is seeking knowledge with the wrong intention. Seeking knowledge with the wrong intention. So if somebody is seeking knowledge to get famous or to gain some kind of monetary benefit, or let's just say he wants to gain status in society, etc. All of this will lead the person, number one, to get sin, and number two, the person won't even gain knowledge. And we already took the quote of Imam Fairuz Abadi about that. That the person who seeks knowledge for other than Allah, not only is he going to get sin, as we mentioned in the hadith, he doesn't even gain the knowledge. He doesn't even gain the knowledge. And so what's worse than that? The person who is not going to gain his knowledge because his intention is so lowly. And this is important, brothers and sisters, that we know that if somebody's intention is not for Allah's sake, they're not going to be able to obtain the ranks of the people of knowledge who are seeking it for His sake alone, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so a person should correct their intention always for Allah's sake. Knowledge is for knowledge's sake. You want to learn to get closer to Allah. And what is the intention? To lift the ignorance off yourself and your family and those around you in the community. Not to, or for people to say that you're a sheikh or you have knowledge, because that doesn't mean anything. And we know that because the people who are looking for those praises, those are empty praises. Remember, the people of knowledge, they know who's the person of knowledge. The awam, they call you sheikh, that doesn't mean anything. The ami, anyone can be sheikh. And you can only be a little bit more knowledgeable than you become a sheikh. So why would you matter if a lay person called you a doctor? You're going to be happy? Or he called you engineer and you're nothing. So when he calls you sheikh, it's because he's maskeen. He doesn't know anything. And this is the reality today, that people are looking for the praise of the awam, not the ulama. Social media, this is what's happening. People are looking for the followers of who? People who are lay people. The lay people, they're going to be everywhere. So we look for Allah's pleasure. And if someone is truly knowledgeable, Allah will raise them for dunya wal akhirah. And this is the key. And this is important. If this is what your intention really is, to gain closer to Allah. But if someone says, I want to gain a good standing for myself, the dunya and the akhirah, the best is ilm. Because when you do it for Allah's sake, Allah will give you the status in the dunya in a good manner, because you did it for Allah's sake. That's the secret. But if you did it the other way around, you can't guarantee what you're going to get in dunya. You may get it, you may not. And in akhirah, you get nothing. You get humiliated. And we know the hadith of Abu Hurairah fi Muslim, the first three people to be punished on Al-Qiyamah, from them is a Qaadir. Right? So here the ulama, they take this reality that this is serious. There are people out there who have the wrong intention. And so a person should check their intention, because you won't even gain knowledge without it. Because how much knowledge do you really need in order to dupe the lay people? They're thinking you're knowledgeable. Not much. Just you get a good speaker, then khalas. Because Imam Suyuti, he already said it, rahimahullah, the ulama in the side of the awam are those who rise or ascend the mimbar. Anyone gives a khutbah as a alim عند عوام. خلاص, يعني all you need is enough to give a khutbah. You become a sheikh. How much you need then? Not much. So this is what's happening today. Someone just, if this is your intention, you don't need much. You don't need to know knowledge, deep knowledge. Why? Because you give enough to khutbah, good lecture, people say mashallah, and then I can get what I want. So you find the person's wrong intention even holds him back. He could be talented, but he wasn't sincere. قُلْ كُلٌّ يَعْمَلُ شَاكِرَتِهِ قُلْ كُلٌّ يَعْمَلُ عَلَى شَاكِرَتِهِ. Everyone acts according to intention. So if your intention is to gain true knowledge, not sufficient. The people say you're knowledgeable. What do the people of knowledge think about me? They consider me somebody in their company. But more important, what does Allah think about me? So that's very important, because you find many people, this could be the first concern, that the intention is a little bit lowly. How do you correct it? Just know in the beginning your intention may not be the most sincere, because we're human beings. But as you continue knowledge will force you to change your intention, because you can't gain knowledge sincerely unless you want to please Allah. So the men of Salaf, that's how they started, with the wrong intention, because they were young, and later the intention will be corrected, because knowledge will force you. You keep hearing these reminders, and you keep reminding yourself, and you realize that ultimately some subjects of knowledge are difficult. Only the people who are sincere can be able to achieve an understanding of them. The next one, the ulama they mention, is not seeking knowledge in a gradual manner. So from the pitfalls, the awa'iq, is that somebody is hasty. He's not going in gradual order, he's just jumping in, trying to take everything at once. So this kind of seeking of knowledge will lead to a failure, and people dropping out from the classes, because he's trying to go too fast. You find that that's one of the problems as well. So you have to be in gradual progression, shay'un for shay, little bit by little bit, every day, every night. And if you do this method by going at a pace which is gradual and in accordance to what your level you're at, you will gain strong knowledge. Because not about how much knowledge you have necessarily or what you covered, it's how well did you understand it, appreciate it, keep in your heart. So you want to become rasikhun fil ilm. Those are firmly grounded knowledge, and that requires that you build slowly and surely your knowledge, not try to get everything at once, because some subjects go in order. So imagine you try to study everything at one time. So you have to be patient, sabr. And for young people, that's the hard part, because if someone tells you how long you seek knowledge, there's no time frame. You can go fast, you can go slow. It depends on what you're looking to do, how much effort you can put in. But there's no guarantee you learn something quickly. So just be patient and go for the learning. Doesn't matter how long it takes. Because the ibrah, the consideration is, do you know it or not? No one asks you how long it takes. It's desirable to finish it at a good time pace. But if it takes you 20 years to learn something, does it matter? At the end, all they're going to call you is he's a nahwi, mufassir, muhaddith. That's what the name you're going to get at the end. After 20 years, someone else 1 year. It doesn't matter. The names are the same. There's no one guy who's not going to have a different name when they write his biography. But the story usually comes with the time. So sabr. And that's one of our problems, because we live in the West. Everything is fast. 3 years, 4 years, khalas, you want to go fast. No, the ulama, they studied the whole life. But yes, if you're studying to get somewhere, with the proper schedule, you can go faster. But stay patient. Because if you try to go too fast, you'll find yourself later burning out, quitting the classes because you think it's taking too long. Many of the people of innovation, this is their problem. They had no sabr for talab ilm. Imam al-Zuhri famously said, rahimahullah, فَمَنْ رَامَ عِلْمَ الْجُمْلَةِ فَاتَهُ الْجُمْلَةِ. Whosoever attempts to seek knowledge in one go, it will disappear in one go. So we have to remember that statement, because these are the ulama, they're advising the youngsters, take it easy, step by step. And this will also assure that there is no such thing as a person who is not benefiting. You're still benefiting. Maybe you would like to go faster so you can pick up the pace, but keep going. And this also would help a person to avoid the mistake of trying to take on a class that's too difficult for them. So classes, we said, are organized from beginning, intermediate to advanced. So you go where you are. You don't go where you would like to be. You say, okay, where am I? Am I a beginner? Okay, beginner class. No problem. But if someone says, no, I can't, it's embarrassing, I have to go, then you go to top class, they will leave you behind. You will be forced to drop out before the sheikh will kick you out, right? When you realize you don't know anything. You're going to have to leave, because it's going to go above your level. And that could be a fitna for you too. So it's also good to go at a gradual level. It's much better and more comfortable. The third one, being hasty in seeking the fruits of seeking knowledge. What are the thamarat of ilm? Ultimately is to know answers to questions, to benefit other people, to maybe be people will give you some kind of status in the community to lead them. These are the thamarat, yani the fruits of ilm. It comes naturally, but you're not intending to gain it. You have to be patient. And everybody's due turn will come. But you don't want to seek that quickly. It means I try to gain that, for example, position and leadership before I'm ready. Because then I'm going to be deprived of knowledge and also that position. Number one, we know the person who's not qualified is not going to get the position. But at the same time, gaining power, position, and authority prevent you from seeking knowledge. Because you're busy now providing services for the community. You don't have time to do the talab the way you used to. And how many ulama they talk about that, mashayikh, that when they used to be talab ilm, no one knows them. So alhamdulillah, free time, you can do a review of your matoon, you walk the streets, no one knows you. Then when you become a shaykh, it's like you can't go nowhere. Someone stop you, bother you, call you, and say, I want to ask you something. And for much of the people who are not at the level of scholar or knowledgeable person, they're not ready for all that commitment because it's going to take away from your talab. And that's why most people who go too fast in that angle, he won't be able to, number one, sustain his position, but also he can't learn anymore. Imagine, if you become an imam before his due time, of the imam in masjid before his right time, and have you seen the imam in masjid sitting in the class? He's the imam, either he's teaching the class or he's not there. So this is what shaitan will come and say, you're an imam, you can't sit in some other guy's class, even though you're supposed to be in the other person's class, because you know you're not an imam. But in according to your lay people, you're an imam. So you feel like, yeah, I can't go there. I'm an imam. I can skip that class. And you find this that prevents you from learning, asking questions. So that's why scholars are very cautious about seeking positions and before the due time. And this is very important because in today's society, there's no shortage of positions. If you're qualified to do something, then you do it. If something is too much for you, it's above your level, you wait. And the idea behind it is that ilm has thamara. Da'wah is the thamara of ilm, right? You want to give da'wah, but you give da'wah that you can. There's no condition to giving da'wah. Everyone can. But you don't want to do a big scale da'wah, and you know you're not that level yet. For example, if you become doing da'wah in your local community versus doing da'wah for the whole city, different. Da'wah in the whole world. Everyone's going to come to you. You have to be ready. So a person should choose these kinds of situations based on what they know, but also be careful that eventually, if you gain more knowledge, Allah will allow you to become a beneficial person to others. The fruits will come. Also from the fruits of knowledge is that ability to feel that you're qualified. You have knowledge, the feeling that you are competent. It will come. In the beginning, you don't know if you're learning anything. And that's possibly because you haven't really answered people's questions or helped anyone. But you are learning no matter what. So if you come to the class, you're learning something. So even if you feel like I don't know anything, if someone asks you a basic question, you can answer it, then you know something. So the idea is be patient, but you also don't want to be a person who he learns little, he thinks he knows a lot. As we'll see later, that's one of the dangers as well, because when you know little, you don't belittle what you know, but also you want to learn more. Ask Allah for more. But also be careful of the hastiness. Right? This is the idea. This is a big problem in today's society because you can give yourself permission to do whatever you want. Just turn on the camera, turn on the computer, make your own page, and that's it. You become a marja' lin-nas. Everyone's going to ask you, and then ضلوا أضلوا. Misguide as you can. Today people think it's fine. I'm going to put everything mizan hasanat. There's also mizan sayyat. You speak without knowledge is dangerous. But imagine today, it's the people who are tempting us, and the people have to be careful. They will tell you whatever they want to tell you. So we have to tell ourselves the truth. Am I really able to do that? If the answer is no, let me ask the people who I benefited from. Maybe they'll give me a better advice. And this is important because in today's time, you find people who, they're not really aware that they're not that qualified in something, but they put themselves forward because they think that it's okay. Tasaddur, putting himself forward before his due time, will lead to harms that are long term. Like I said, not being able to continue learning, or sometimes even you'll come with strange issues, answers that no one before you have said, and then you're going to end up, right? You're going to have to leave by yourself because you're saying things without knowledge. The fourth one, not acting upon the knowledge one has. And that's a problem as well. Ilm is only there to be acted upon, and it's the biggest challenge. You learn to practice. Because we know Rasulullah Shaykh Islam rahimahullah taught us al-ilm and amal. Right? It's ilm, knowledge and action. So the goal is to learn and to practice, put into practice. By putting into practice what you know, your knowledge goes up. Because you're affirming your knowledge and you're being sincere and truthful to what you learned. The hard part though is being truthful to the knowledge throughout your study. Because as the more you learn, the more you have to do. And of course, we're human beings. the more we learn. We might not be able to practice everything that we know, but we try our best. We ask Allah to make us those people who act upon our knowledge. But the Quran we know, you learn, or the Hadith, or anything you learn, gotta make sure you're practicing to the best of your ability. The Quran, hujjatun laka aw alayk. The Quran is a proof for you or against you. So try your best to be a person, you'll learn to act. And look to the Salaf Salih, how they stick to the Sunnah all the time, no matter if it's difficult or easy. When nobody knows, everyone knows. That's how they were. Like Imam Bukhari authentically said, when I learned that backbiting was haram, I never backbited anyone in my life. And he imagine, he could say that with all his jarh wa ta'deer, he didn't backbite anyone, he said. That's why Bukhari was very careful with his wordings when tajreeh. If someone is problematic, fihi nadar, something, he's under investigation. That's that kind of language. For Bukhari, that means this guy's finished. This guy's khalas, masqult, no good. But for him, he didn't want to write like others would say he's da'if or laysa bi shay, he's nothing. So he writes like this. But that shows you level of fear of Allah all his life. Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah, sahib al-sunnah, we know Imam al-sunnah jama'ah. Why is he so valuable to people? Why is he such a big imam? Because he always practices sunnah, even when it's not easy. And one time when he was before the mihnah or during the mihnah, when he was moving house to house, place to place before the big trial, he stayed at someone's house for 3 days, then he's about to leave to the next place. So why are you staying so short? Stay longer. He said, no, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam stayed only, him and Bakr, only 3 days in the cave. If we don't practice sunnah when it's easy, but not when it's hard. Imagine, 3 days, he used this is the ghar as proof. I'm not going to just stay. So I did 3 days, 3 days, move on. And so like, you look at someone like this, you say, how can this real? This is a real person. But these are the stories that make Imam Ahmad who we know him to be. Knowledge, practice, taqwa. So when we look at the Salaf, they give us a reminder, try to be sincere as much as we can, because then when you practice your knowledge, Allah will allow you to memorize that knowledge, but also be able to benefit others, because the barakah is in the hand of Allah. Sometimes someone could be more knowledgeable, but somebody, due to their sincerity with Allah, Allah gives them the miftah, the key, to benefit other people. Not everyone who's knowledgeable is always given the tawfiq to do the kind of da'wah someone less qualified can do, because da'wah and ilm, they're connected, but sometimes Allah will give someone less knowledgeable barakah. And that's what we can see in different lifestyles and time periods. For example, Shaykh Islam Muhammad Wahab, he lives at the time period, Imam Muhammad Amir al-San'ani. They live in the same time period. San'ani is older than Shaykh Islam. San'ani, most of us, we know him now. Right? He's a great Imam, author of Subul al-Salam. He's more knowledgeable than Shaykh Islam Abdul Wahab. But who has da'wah? Who is the one who's known as Imam da'wah? Shaykh Islam. ذلك فالله يؤتيه من يشاء. He's more knowledgeable than San'ani. We can tell. But if you see the barakah, it's in the hand that Allah gave it to Shaykh Islam Abdul Wahab. That's the fadl of Allah. So the point is, if you act upon your knowledge, Allah will open for you something. That even though you know that you're not the most knowledgeable, you were sincere with knowledge. You did your best. You practiced what you learned, and you were sincere. Fifthly, becoming arrogant, another pitfall, and full of oneself on account of the knowledge they learned. And this is a problem that affects everybody, especially in the beginning stages. What you learned, you think you know. And when you think you know something, then you try to show it to others, or sometimes you belittle the people without realizing, or sometimes knowingly. So arrogance is a disease of the heart. So we have to avoid it, brothers and sisters. We have to avoid it. If you're more knowledgeable, you should increase in humility, khashya, and fear of Allah, khushu' khawf. This is what you're supposed to have. So humility is that someone, he knows their level in front of Allah. Allah says about the people of knowledge, we see them khushu'ah. The Quran increased them in khushu'ah. So the more you learn, the more you lower yourself, because you're not somebody special. Allah gave you this fadl, it's not you. At the same time, you know, the more you learn, how much you don't know. But the beginner who doesn't know much, he thinks he knows everything. That's because he doesn't even know what he doesn't know. And that's the beginning stages. The first shibr is in the first beginning stage of ilm. He thinks he knows everything. But he doesn't realize how much detailed khilafat there are, or different masail, or different ways of looking at it. So arrogance is dangerous because it makes you belittle people, and it can also ruin your talab, because arrogance is a disease of the heart. So how do you combat that? Just remember that whatever you think you know, someone knows more. فَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. So if you think you're a big shot, somebody's going to come more knowledgeable than you, put you down. How was that? If you're putting people down, someone's going to come and just say, well, you don't know anything anyways, yourself. You don't see the shaykh do that. When you meet you, say, you're nobody. Shaykh, the most humble people. I mean, that's when you look at the ulama, you see how can they be so humble with all the knowledge they have? Because they reach this level of knowledge, they know they don't know. Even though they know a tremendous amount of things, but they know they don't know. Whereas the person who has less knowledge, it's because of his less knowledge that he thinks he knows something, that he's going to belittle the people. At the same time, someone who you belittle could become later better than you. So why would you do that anyways? So the truth is, the more humble you are, the increase in knowledge. The more arrogant you are, the more you lose the knowledge and the respect of the people. So always remember, like the rain, knowledge is a description like the rain. The low-lying land collects the most rainwater. Right? The land that's down low collects more. The one that's, the mountain collects no rainwater. Right? If you want to be up there in the sky, you think you're a big guy, then when the end comes, you get nothing on you. And you see this sometimes with some people, that even though they might have knowledge, akhlaq, people, this is how they judge you, right? They're not going to, they wouldn't even know sometimes if something's right or wrong, but look at your character. And the ulama, look at their example, present and past, as a good example to learn humility. Because the ulama, they're the bona fide scholars, but when you see them, the humility, they don't consider them nothing. And this is why when you read their biographies, you calm yourself down. So it's highly encouraged for student knowledge to read the biographies of the Salaf and the ulama who are alive today. They're so knowledgeable, but so humble, so humble. For example, some of the humility you find, some of them, they don't like to be known. Some ulama were not very fond of being known, and they would be even some of them introverted, if you say. Like Alamat al-Sa'di, rahimahullah, his biography mentioned, he wasn't someone who would put himself out there a lot. So with all his knowledge, he liked to be in a small corner with a small group of people. He didn't like to be in front of everybody. This is Sa'di, the Mufassir, is a big person. That's his nature, but also humility. I mean, you would think like Imam Sa'di deserves the whole crowd to be sitting. But no, it's not like that. And some of the Salaf, because of the fear of becoming known, they would not sit in big gatherings. And the humility also comes to how they live. Shaykh al-Albani, rahimahullah, we all know his status. His humility is that he didn't really care for people to come to him and praise him, calling him these big titles. Shaykh Atim once he was in a daras, and then one of the Tulab came to the masjid and said, Shaykh, the sink is leaking, Shaykh said, stop the daras and go and fix the sink, I didn't tell all that. They said, what we're going to do is the thing is leaking. Imagine me and you were like, you can't tell the Shaykh that. Why? You think Shaykh can't fix the sink? Right? But also, why would you expect him not to? That's how he taught them. He didn't teach them, say, I'm the Shaykh, don't bother me. I'm teaching the class. What is he teaching them? To benefit them. But also like humility, the fact that they can do that, and he had no problem with helping them in that. These are the types of ulama that when we look at their life, we wonder, subhanAllah, that's the secret of knowledge, the humility. They were humble, Allah allowed them to increase in knowledge. But the person who's arrogant, right? Even the people will turn him down. They won't give him praise. And that's what some of the ulama, that was one of their problems. And it's true that the people of knowledge, like the awam, the people of dunya, every group has their afat, their afflictions. So the Ahlul Ilm, they have their afflictions, the common things that may bother them. One of them could be, if they don't catch themselves, is arrogance. Because you know something people they don't know. It's a human nature to feel a certain way. So you have to remove that and say that only Allah gave me that knowledge, it's not because of me. And not ascribing yourself to the knowledge as much as it's trying to hope that people benefit. So you have to test your intention behind that. It's very important. Number 6, busying in da'wah before becoming firm in knowledge. It's kind of like the third one. So giving da'wah before you have firm knowledge. That's another one because it's going to prevent you from actually doing more talab. Umar radiallahu ta'ala authentically said, تَفَقَّهُ قَبْلَ أَن تَسَوَّدُوا. Seek fiqh before you gain position. Tasweed here means become a sayyid. تَفَقَّهُ, seek fiqh قَبْلَ أَن تَسَوَّدُوا. Before you seek or gain position or power or leadership. Some ulama interpret this hadith to mean becoming an imam or leader. And some even said before you get married. Take that one, brothers. Very important, right? Because when you go, you're going to become the imam of your house. You're the mufti of the house. And everyone, all the fatwa are going to come back to you. And you can't say every time, La adri, I don't know. Everything you don't know, right? That can't be. And that's the problem because it's a fiqh you're supposed to know. So that's why it's encouraged to seek knowledge before you get to power positions. It could be becoming a family man, have not dependence, or imam in masjid, or the muezzin, or whatever. So that statement of Umar is a powerful statement. It's mentioned in Bukhari mu'allaqan, and it has a chain transmission which is authentic. Right? So this statement of Umar, scholars always say that be mindful of it. Leadership comes in hand with knowledge. So if you're young and knowledgeable, that's good. If you're old and knowledgeable, is good, doesn't matter. But the position that you're trying to gain, or you're going to eventually take, get busy in learning before you have to take that position. But the person who starts da'wah too early, what's the problem? How can he learn? He's busy benefiting people. but he himself is not benefiting himself. So he has to put things in order. Number 7, lacking high ambitions and aspirations and knowledge. Low aspirations. This is one of the biggest problems you may find. Somebody's aspiration to knowledge is very low. He just wants to learn a little bit. No, you can't learn a little bit, you want to learn all of it. Why would you tell yourself, I can't learn all of it? So you tell yourself, I want to become a knowledgeable person. I want to become like Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, or Imam Ahmad, or Imam Shafi'i, or whoever else in the Salaf. Yes, Allah's bounty is not limited. So we have to push ourselves to have high aspirations. That means when you're learning, you're not learning because it's class time. I'm learning for itqan, perfection. I'm going to master this thing. So my expectation in the class, when I study something, it's become, mashallah, finished it. And then I can go back and teach people. But the way you attach yourself to the knowledge and ambition, you're going to keep going for more. Some people's ambition is low. They take a little bit and say, that's enough. Why? When it comes to money, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't say, I got a couple of dollars today. You could have got a couple of million maybe. No one does that. For dunya, no one does it. For deen, it's okay. So all this is extra. No. So why would you want to take more? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam encouraged what? And whoever takes it is taking a great portion, abundant portion. Take more. You're supposed to take more. So that means the classes, you want more. And also your aspiration is, I need to learn well, and I want to learn more. And you're pushing yourself, not lowering yourself. So how do you have high ambitions? Something innate. But also look at the Salaf, pious predecessors and Imams. How did they study? How much were they learning? What were they learning? The books. What are the names of these books? What level are they? How can I learn? Is it hard? You want to be like them. Follow them. But some people, you see them, they're sufficient with low level, and that's not good, because knowledge is an ocean. It's an ocean with no shores. So you got to keep going deep in the ocean. So aspire yourself for more. Knowledge is a lot, brothers. So that's why we're looking now, ilm, this is wajib, but we want to go mustahab, we want to go to nawafil. Nafil. We want to go all the way down, no matter what it takes. And that's the kind of aspirations you should have. And if you have this aspiration, then you're going to keep pushing yourself. You finish one, you start another. You finish one, you start another. You keep going. And the ulama are great examples. The ambition keeps growing. Even though they have knowledge, they want more. And Imam Ibn Jawzi, for example, he finished at 10 qira'at, I think age 80. And he mentioned, he's already hafid, but he said, why? He said, my himma now is higher now, at the older age, than it was at the younger. And Ibn Aqil said the same thing, his teacher. The older he gets, the more ambitious he is. The nature of human beings, the older you get, the more desirous of dunya you are. That's the hadith of Rasulullah. Qalbu shaykh shab, the heart of the old man will always be young, fitnatain, for two things. Al-mal, or hubbu dunya wal-amal. Long life, or love for dunya and hope. That's the human nature. So the older you get, the more you want dunya. Them, the older they're getting, the more knowledge you're aspiring to get. They already have a lot. Brothers and sisters, that's how you should be. So when you have a high aspiration, you don't settle for less. The way you study is very different. Classes, you're not learning just to know. You want to learn to make perfection. Tahqiq al-ilm, that's what you want. You become from muhaqqiqun al-ilm, those people who have the final say on the matter. And those ulama are very few. But the idea is that when you study something, what you want to do, I want to study it, khalas. I finished that topic. I never have to go back to it again. That's qawl sahih. I looked into it deeply. I looked at all the views, every angle. Why? That gives you the pleasure to hopefully you get it right. Because in the day, when you're learning knowledge, what are you learning? The ilm Allah revealed. It's the truth. So that's why you have to have high aspirations and always keep your ambitions high. Hang around people who want to do more, not people who are looking to do less. Number 8, turning towards the dunya and its beauty and its adornment. This is a very common one. Most people, this is what they fall into. The fitna of the dunya. And most people, this is the fitna they fall into. Tulab ilm, they get carried away with the dunya. And the idea behind it is that the dunya is always going to be appealing. And it's so easy for us to be deluded by it. And so, at the end of the day, if you know this, what do you have to tell yourself? That the dunya is never going to satisfy me. If I gain the dunya, great. If I don't have it, it doesn't matter. Right? Knowledge cannot be traded in for the dunya. But for some people, they use the knowledge to gain the dunya, and later on they regret. Because knowledge is much more valuable than dunya. They couldn't pay you enough for what you know and what you can gain. So some ahadith, they come and say that the people at the end of time will be tested, and nothing will be more bigger of a test for them, or misguide them more than the dunya. And this is the reality we see in our own eyes, brothers and sisters, in today's time. Many people aspiring to dunya with the knowledge. Because when you have something to offer of knowledge, people are going to try to pay you. And the money itself can be obviously a fitna, it can ruin your intention, but also it can ruin your istiqamah, your uprightness. Because what is the money going to do? It's going to buy you out towards haram or watering down your views. And people are going to give you a long check and say, come on, you can lecture with us. How much? What's your price? You couldn't pay me anyways. What are you going to pay me with? And what's the benefit? You're going to misguide the people? That's how you should think. But the person of knowledge who knows that the dunya itself, if it comes his way, great. Because that's the outcome of having the right intention. Allah will bring the dunya to you anyways. But when you're seeking it for the dunya, you will get the dunya. But what about the akhirah? The ulama warned about this heavily. And an excellent book, Hafiz ibn Rajab. Everyone should read it. Right? He explains the hadith Ka'b. The two hungry wolves are not more dangerous. Two hungry wolves unleashed on a flock of sheep are no more dangerous than a man's love for status and money are to his deen. This hadith Ka'b, he explains this hadith. It's in English. The hadith, I think it's called Craving Wealth and Status by Hafiz ibn Rajab. It's in English. Excellent read. It's wajib for us today. Because in our time, especially Tulab al-Ilm, it's necessary to read that book. The ulama have even explained it. It's called the evil of craving for wealth and status. In that book, he explains the hadith Ka'b, but the way he explains it, and he shows you the dangers of this and why so many people are inspired by the dunya, and the students of knowledge. He's talking about the ulama too. So many of us, we have to be careful. He mentioned a nice statement in that book that the person who seeks the akhirah, ilm for Allah's sake, Allah will give him the sharaf of dunya wal akhirah. That's a beautiful statement that proves the point that if you gain knowledge, you get the sharaf anyways. And imagine the whole room of people, everyone's salah time. They're not going to look for the richest guy to lead the salah. You walk in, miskin guy, he has the most knowledgeable guy. That's it. You get sharaf. You run the line. You come late, they bring you all to the front. What else do you want? That's the what people today, this is what they're looking for. You want to be the front of the people? Okay, when you die, you want to be remembered? Who remembers rich people? They're dead. Their money, we can't get from them anymore. So most of us, we forgot the rich people. As we only remember them now because we can get the money from them. When they're dead, we can't get it from them, so we forget them. But the person of knowledge, no one forgets him. وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ, Allah says. We're going to make him remembrance of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam risen. Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah says, whoever practices sunnah, his name will also be risen. His status will also be risen. Just like Rasulullah is. Allah, brothers, Ahlul Ilm, no one forgets them. Till today we say, Rahimahullah, you don't hear about this guy. You don't hear about the richest person at the time period, that Imam. So at the end, if you think logically, you want to be remembered, is that what you're looking for? Then go for knowledge. That's really what you're looking for. Although it's not what they should be aspiring for, but that's what you're looking for. All you're looking for, everyone points towards you. Look to Hajj season. Everyone's looking for the rich person. Right? The rich person is looking for the Imam. I did something wrong with the Hajj. I need help. This is what it is. Business people, with all that money they have, who are they calling? In the late hours. They're not calling the other business guy. When they're panicking, something's haram, he calls the mufti. And the mufti hangs up on him because he's still sleeping. They don't know. What are you going to do? You do something wrong. You have to wait for him to wake up. Allah, brothers. Wallah, this is the reality. Nobody understands. The status that they were given, the opportunities in front of them, they don't need it. Because the dunya ultimately won't give you what Allah is going to give you in the akhirah and the dunya. So the idea then is that even for young people who seem to be looking for this, their knowledge not only will take care of your dunya, it will give you the main things you're looking for, which is to be belonging or having belonging and being loved. Allah will put the love in the hearts of people for the person of khair. And you notice that the person who does something good, everyone loves that person. People who never met you, when first time seeing you, because Allah put it into them. So we have to aspire the right way, brothers. This is an important message for the younger people because it's a very difficult time we're living in today. The dunya is everywhere, and you see it, and you can feel that if you don't ask Allah to protect you from it, you may be overcome by it. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that's one of the things he used to make dua against, from the trial of being overtaken by the trials of the dunya. And it's also, generally speaking, it's also from its temptations. The next one, number 9, procrastinating and wishful thinking. So somebody, instead of learning, he's just always planning, but he's not doing anything. You got to plant the seed for tomorrow, right? And you got to do the work today for tomorrow. So some people, you see them, he's always just procrastinating. Tomorrow's a new day. He's not doing anything really to learn. And that's also a blameworthy quality. All right, so you should not be procrastinating. Wishful thinking as well. If you want to become an imam, you have to work for it. But the idea is like if you want to get work done, there's no other way around it. The beauty of ilm is that everyone has opportunity towards seeking it if they work hard, sincerely. There's no other way around it. So procrastination is a sickness, so we should avoid it. What you want to learn, if it takes time or it takes effort, just work hard. Don't give up and don't be lazy. Work today, don't see tomorrow. And some people that like that, they hang around people like that. Well, tomorrow we'll get it all together. But today, what are we doing right now? So Imam Ibn Abbas, we know his story, في Sunnah Darimi, Sahih story, how he did talab ilm. When the Prophet ﷺ died, Ibn Abbas was 13 years old. He memorized maybe like the last 4 juz of the Quran, from Surah Qaf down to Surah Nas. And he said, at that time, me and my young friend, I said, let's go to the Sahaba, they're alive, and the Kibar, the older ones, let's learn the knowledge. And he said, Ibn Abbas, is anyone going to be turning towards me and you when the big Sahaba are alive? Why would they need us? Ibn Abbas, فَتَرَكَهُ, he left him, and he went. Not too much time passed before that man walked in the masjid one day, he sees Ibn Abbas sitting, giving people the knowledge. He says, SubhanAllah, that boy is smarter than me. Yeah, but that's فَتَرَكَهُ, he left him on the way. Because even though that person lives in the time of Sahaba, could be even Sahabi, he has this higher ambition of Abbas. When you aspire high, you can't hang around someone who's not going to do what you're going to be doing. But look how Abbas gained the knowledge very quickly because of high aspirations. And that's why it's important to hang around people like that who are going to push you to do more. We finish something, do something else. Not the people who are trying to tell you, oh, that's enough, okay, I think you know enough. No one can say that to us. We need to know more. And number 10, and we'll finish with this number, spending excessive time playing, hanging out, and visiting friends. Excessive time. So it doesn't mean there's no time to play. It doesn't mean there's no time for visitation. Sometimes it's necessary, and it's part of the good habit of the Muslim that he meets his fellow Muslims. But we're talking about excessive all the time. A talib ilm cannot be like the awam. He doesn't have that much time. He doesn't. Talib ilm is studying. So if you see talib ilm always, mashallah, every hour is free. That guy's not doing talib ilm. Too much free time. And you find that a problem. You can't call talib ilm and say, come on, let's go get some coffee. No, man, it's the wrong time. It's time for study. Maybe that day or that time. Have a schedule. So sometimes you have to come out, yes, especially in this area where we're living. You can't be in your home all day, you can't be busy because shaitan is everywhere and Ahl Sunnah have to meet one another. Must. Some people, you find them today, they don't want to come to Dars. If we're not going to come to Dars, where are we going to meet? Which majal? This is Rawd min Riyadh Jannah, where we're going to meet. And if we're not coming here, we're too busy from that, then we're not busy. We're mahroom. We're being deprived, brothers. That's an excuse. Nobody's too busy to learn the basics with the deen. And who wants more? Someone say, I'm too busy. You're deprived. That's it. Because you can't be, if you're not going to come to any class, how can that be you're too busy? No, it's not. It's a lie. The idea is we have to prioritize. But talib ilm is busy. Ulama even more busy. So what do? You make a schedule. Okay, these days I go out, these days I'm at home. Or I'm busy in my class. That's how you learn. So the class time, no one can interrupt you. And that's an emergency. So then you have times you come out. So for example, Jumu'ah is a great time. Or Saturdays, for example, Sunday. You pick the time you're free. And you come out, you visit your brothers. But you can't tell yourself, I'm going to be talib ilm and I'm always free. Ibn Qayyim talks about this, and we'll mention in a second, about excessive meeting with friends. It can take away from the ilm. So you make a schedule for yourself. Plan your schedule accordingly and make an appointment to visit your friends and family and whatever you want to do. You want to play some sports, no problem. Pick a day of the week. That's all good. But it can't be all the time. Because again, ilm is heavy. It also has a schedule. So for example, you have to memorize this, you have to study this. You can't be like, okay, I'm going to go play. No, the person who's asking to play, he's not going to do the hifd you're going to do after. He's not going to do the review you're going to have to do after. So it's important to be careful of that because it's a temptation as well that you might find yourself get busy in this stuff. After maybe you were not. In the beginning, everyone's aspires to learn. But later they realize that knowledge requires a lot of effort. The more you give, the more you get. But ultimately, you're going to have to give up everything. To get to the level the ulama did, the whole life is ilm. That's the secret, but sometimes we wonder, how did they do it? What everything they do is ilm. All day, pretty much. Beyond the ibadat and the other things they do personally, all his waking hours are knowledge. That's the reason why they're so knowledgeable. Because me and you have to say, okay, I need a basic schedule, but I also be careful of the people who are going to try to take away from my time because life is short and you might not have the zeal that you have now, you might not have it later. And so you have to be careful. Ibn Qayyim, he writes, in Kitab al-Fawaid, page 78 to 80, this is the English translation. There are two kinds of meetings between friends. The first kind is a meeting based on sociability and spending time, in which there are more disadvantages than advantages, the least of which is corruption of the heart and wasting time. That's a bad one. The second kind of meetings, for the sake of supporting one another, are recommending one another to the truth and to patience. That's Surah Asr. And this is the best kind. But even this one, he says, it has three disadvantages. Imagine, a good gathering can even have disadvantages. Number one, flattering one another. Number two, being excessively talkative. And number three, that such meetings become a habit or routine and they fail to achieve their aims. Means the more you meet, the more likely you're going to not do what you're supposed to do because you keep meeting and then you're forgetting the purpose. So the benefit we can derive from that, meeting less is better than meeting a lot, means sometimes the week, not all the time. Why? Because that way you're going to be meeting, you're happy to meet your fellow brother. You're also going to meet with the intention to meet one for Allah's sake, especially in today's time, brothers. At Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we have to meet one another. Imam Shaykh Muqbil used to say, rahimahullah, at Sunnah wal Jama'ah, meeting one another. Seeing that Sunnah is a cure for many of the sicknesses. That's true. Just meet your fellow brother, you forgot the dunya wa ma fiha. If whatever problems you have, forget it, who cares? And that's why, because you meet someone going to remember you found you the akhirah. وَذَكِّرْهُمْ بِأَيَّامِ اللَّهِ. Sometimes you meet some people, you can remember shakil. I don't want to hear it. I know the world is messed up. What are we going to do? Complain all day? Let's make some dua. Let's read Quran. Maybe we'll make the world better. And sometimes you meet somebody who's going to bring you some good news. Some fa'idah that's going to make life so much better for you. This is what we need. But sometimes you also see some people who don't meet at all. And that's not good either, because then shaitan ma'a wahid. If you're by yourself all the time, you could fall off the deen, you could fall off even your mental health. It could not be good because you're always by yourself. It's not healthy, especially in these places we're living where there's not an evil. So I recommend the brothers to continue to read about those awaiq, those obstacles. Sheikh Abdul Karim Burgess and also Sheikh Salih al-Sheikh, they have a lot about it. And it's also helpful to be mindful of them. And also to read the biography of the ulama. It's a great advice in general. Quickly, I want to mention some motivational stories, because the ulama, they're also inspirations for us. And some of these stories are mentioned by Sheikh Abdul Sadhan and his kitab Ma'anim fi Talab Ilm. And there he mentions stories of some great imams who started off their life not as great imams. So this is a reminder that everybody has a backstory. I'll mention one example, from singer to scholar. Imam used to be a singer, Abu Bakr, Abdul Rahman bin al-Nafis al-Ghithani, al-Faqih, al-Qari. His nicknames al-Azzal al-Baghdad. This Imam, he said at the beginning of his life, he used to have a really good voice, so he used to sing. And then he repented to Allah and made a good repentance. He learned the Quran in a short time and learned to write. And he memorized the books of fiqh, the Hanbali fiqh, and he became good at it. And different opinions amongst the madhab. Then he memorized in a day that which others could not memorize in a month. And he was firm upon the narrations and the sunnah. And it's mentioned by Imam Ibn Rajab in his Their Tabaqat Hanabila. A person who was a singer to a Qari. That's a great story. Many of us, we don't know the ulama. Not all of them started in Talab Ilm, right? They started with different lifestyles. But it's encouraging, because sometimes we look at ourselves and say, well, nobody like me is going to make anything. No, this is again from the low aspirations. Another example, hire robber to Imam. Hire robber time in Salaf is a gangster in today's time. Same thing. Shaatil at that time is a gangster in today's time. Equivalent. So we're not talking Fudayl ibn Iyad. That's one. The other one, Nasiruddin Ahmed bin Abdul Salam al-Baghdadi. Again, he's mentioned in their Tabaqat al-Hanabila. He and his friends were hire robbers before they repented, and one day they were out in the streets when they saw a sparrow, a small bird, flying to take fresh dates from one palm tree to another. So this Imam became curious and he climbed the tree to see what the sparrow was providing the dates to. And he found that it was providing dates to a blind snake. The sparrow was providing its provisions by the permission of Allah. Imagine a snake in a nest, blind, getting the rizq from a sparrow. So he said when he saw this, he became amazed. And he repented to Allah, him and his companions, and became Talab Ilm. Why? Because what he's doing is robbing day and night, thinking this is how I'm going to get the rizq. And then there's a blind snake in the tree, Allah provides him by way of the sparrow. Allahu Akbar. Razaq, brothers. See, some people, they're on the wrong way, think, how else can I make money? What do you mean, how else are you going to make money? All you have to do, if you're good at something, you do it. If you're not good at something, you learn it. But imagine you told yourself, I can only make money from haram. That's what billah. So imagine the sparrow gave him the guidance by way of Allah's permission. Another one, a Christian to a scholar, and this is the scholar Abu Muhammad Abdullah bin Hassan al-Jubba'i, rahimahullah. And this Imam, his father and his family were Christians, and then they accepted Islam when he was about a young boy. And then he memorized the Quran, then later became a scholar. He died 605 Hijri. So we have that examples today of that, ulama who were reverts, who revert to Islam. So again, the door is open. And other ulama too, who started late. And a great example for us, brothers and sisters, Imam al-Wadi'i. Muqbil bin Hadi al-Wadi'i, rahimahullah, his biography, I encourage all students to read it. Muqbil's life is not like others. He started Talib Ilm 34 years old. 34. Yani some of us, we already at 3 strikes, I'm finished. But you didn't even hit 30. What is this? What's this low ambition? 34? He went from Yemen to become a security guard in Mecca, in which he used to secure the buildings at night and Talib Ilm, or the day, and Talib Ilm at night, I think it was. So security, and then seeking knowledge at that time. And then when the Ma'had Ilmi opened, he used to benefit from there. Then he went to Medina when he heard Medina opened. The story of Shaykh Muqbil is amazing because where he started and how he finished, we kind of contextualized it. When it comes back to Damaj, he's about 43, something around there. He stayed in Saudi 13 years, 47 even maybe. And even one year he was displaced. When he had to go back, he had to leave and go to Egypt and to Yemen. So someone is coming late in his life as an Imam who changed the face of the earth in that region. And he's an older man. Most of us be like, SubhanAllah, how is that possible? His energy in terms of da'wah, his teachers like Hamad bin Ansari, rahimahullah, his mushrif, his supervisor, he said, I never seen someone more active in da'wah than Shaykh Muqbil. At that time, he's old, but he used to go to the jails in Medina and argue with the Takfiriyun and the Khawarij and take them to his house and cure their mind. Now, Shaykh Muqbil, rahimahullah, if he is Ba'agha, something else. That time was firm on Sunnah. No one can say nothing to him. And he was one of those people, you look at his character and his ambitions, you can tell he's setting up himself for something big. He finished his studies, Allah gives him tawfiq to open the Damaj, and we see the storyline there. But when we look at his age, brothers, most of us, we say, SubhanAllah, he's 34. Because we're in the head, we're thinking Shaykh was a young man. And he grew up where? A Shia family. Where he's coming from is Zaidi family, people don't know nothing. And this is why when we look at these biographies, you look and you see, and you compare. So we have hope. We have to have high ambitions. And we shouldn't tell ourselves the ilm is only for the people who are, in these regions at this time, this era. It's not for me. We should move ourselves towards what can I do to gain this knowledge, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can allow me. And we take all this information that we're learning and we apply it. That's the key. Apply the knowledge, the steps, and do be proficient. Inshallah, we'll end with this much. We're going to the second half. And there's so much more to be said, but there's lots of great books like this. We talk about the biography. So I encourage the brothers, get the biography of the ulama. Some of them have been translated already into English. For example, they translated Shaykh Uthaymeen's biography into English. Some of us probably have seen that before. So you can read that. Shaykh Uthaymeen's biography. Shaykh Ibn Baz as well has been translated. Shaykh Albani, the biography has been translated. And I think Dar es-Salaam has that one. And there's many others. So read them and can look at their stories and how they gain knowledge. There are some books also that are just about the guidance of the ulama in their daily life. I think there's one particularly. It's called the Guidance, so Jewels of Guidance or something like this, in which it mentions the biography or benefits from Albani, bin Baz, and Uthaymeen. So that book is, I don't know if it's 3 volumes or 1 volume. It's supposed to be more than 1 volume, but it's called Jewels of Guidance. PDF, you can find it. The lives of 3 great Imams, Albani, bin Baz, and Ibn Uthaymeen. It's really good. A lot of great stories in there about their life and how they used to live and the family life and all this stuff. So that one's in English. You can find that one. The Jewels of Guidance. So the reason why it's important, inspiration from these Imams, but also you can learn something from them and it push you to go forward. Inshallah, I don't have any questions quickly. So the brother's asking, how can we balance seeking knowledge and not putting being started to teach too early when we live in areas where there's nothing going on, or people are misguiding people who have the wrong creed or teaching. The thing is, no one prevents someone from sharing what you know. Each one should be teaching one. You should teach what you already know. So that's important. If you learn something, you teach it. And that's one of the barakah of ilm, zakatu ilm. That's zakatu ilm. Everything has zakat. That's the zakatu ilm. So if I learn something like that about the Quran, I have to teach people that. I don't need ijazah, I don't need tazkiyah, I don't need anything. I just go on and teach. The goal is to stick where you know. That's the key. Not go beyond it. But you find a lot of times that this is also a problem. They know so many things and they're not doing much. And then they complain, people are misguided. Yeah, you're not doing anything. Where's your sacrifice and your giving? So we have to be balanced, like teach what you know, not more than it, but also see what's going on in the community and see how you can fit in. For example, in this community, maybe let's say there's no Tawheed classes. Okay, I'll take it. I study a little bit Tawheed. I'll teach what I know and nothing more. It's also one of the ways to encourage you to study more. Because once you start teaching something, you want to know more about it. And suddenly you find yourself being more proficient. As some of our ulama, they advise that. When you want to learn something, you teach yourself something, or review something, you review it the way you're going to teach someone something. So I told you today someone's going to come and sit down in your class, you're going to have everything more organized. So that's how you should be doing it. And that's why we have to be doing this. Because at the end of the day, Ahlul Sunnah Jama'ah, we're not going to leave the doors, the place people misguidance. We shouldn't. And I think it's also a problem that many times you find people who are very qualified and they're not doing enough. And somebody who might be a little bit qualified and he said, I can't do anything. The Muqbil Rahman used to say, who can stop any one of us from going and teaching people Fatiha? People don't know Fatiha. It is true. You see someone Fatiha, you say, this is not good. And you know it, just sit down and do that. And how about wudu? He said, everyone knows wudu. He said, you don't need a jam'iyah for that, like organization to teach wudu. But our communities today, you might even notice those problems, people look at it like, ask the Imam, how come he's not teaching us? The Imam, usually he's the one who can't teach people these things because he's too busy, or sometimes he used to do that and they give him something else. So we have to fit in that. So I agree with the point that if you know something, review your knowledge by teaching to others. It could be a group of people, small people, new Muslims, or if you know like in Masjid Awam, especially Masjid Awam, the masajid where there's nobody, there's no Imam there. It's an Ami person, you have to hold on to those places because Awam, all of them are just the same. You can be, inshallah, guidance for them because you know a little bit, you teach. But if it's the places where there are people who are more knowledgeable than you and they're going to be over you or bring conditions, then you say, no, I'm not going to. But if it's a place nobody cares or it's a place you say, go ahead, you can teach, you have to take advantage of that. So zakat to ilm, brother, is very important. Many of us have been sitting here for how many years? Well, some of us, you could reach almost 10 years. Good. It's not permissible. We say we're not teaching anybody. They have 10 years. You should be sitting here in this seat. It should be this case. And this is what we're trying to move towards. We need to push the people. And that's why we have to inspire ourselves. So I agree with that we have to be doing more. So go to your community, see, especially the khutbah brothers. Khatibs, there's no khatibs in the city. The whole city. I'm telling you from experience, there's no khatib. La hawla wa la quwwata billah. Ahlul Sunnah, where are we? How many times people call me and say, where are the shabab? Either they're working or they don't want to give khutbah. And some of us, we have to remember, brothers, the khutbahs that are going on today's time are so disastrous. Some people should be banned from microphone, should be the blacklisted. But their khatib, who is the permanent khatib, if you would just, you'll be shocked what this person is giving as a khutbah. And you could prepare it, but you didn't even do anything. You just walked in there and gave a khutbah. It's better than what he was preparing. What he's preparing. Brothers and sisters, brothers especially, is unacceptable. Wallahi, sometimes it's sad because we know the hal that we're living in. But this is one thing that we have to fix. This is a problem. In this masjid, all the masjids, we need more Ahl Sunnah. So step up, we have to step up. And even the confidence issue comes with experience. You got to go up there and make a few mistakes. Some awam pull you to the side, tell you something later on, you don't mind. You're going to keep go up there again. After time, they can't pull you aside every week. Right? How many mistakes can you make? After a year, even like, mashallah, you're going to be pro. But the beginnings, people get scared. I mean, there's no khatib who was born perfect. But I also encourage brothers that we have to, as Akh was asking, we look for those majal. We have to look for those spaces. May Allah help us. Yes. And the second one was an amal. Amal is like high hopes. Think you're going to live to a long life. So you find this the reality. So ulama said that hadith is proof that the older you get, the more desirous of dunya you are. Isn't it true, brothers? Our fathers now are fine iPhone 15. He didn't have no phone when he grew up. He doesn't know how to use the phone. He has it, right? But he doesn't know. So how is it possible? So when you mention hadith, some old people laugh. They know. Because the last years are coming. He wants to get everything he's good before he passes. So the way to stop this is that the older you get, if this is reality, the older you get, also get more knowledge. It also befits that, right? The older you are, it comes with the wisdom. So that's another reminder that if we're getting older, it's not be feeling I'm at the same level I was when I was 20s. You notice that too, there can be. So that's encouragement to push yourself a little bit more. Inshallah, in the last question, otherwise we'll just go straight to it. طيب, سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.